justice day. Today is the law day, and we have all recited the preamble. Preamble, the first objective enshrined therein is social justice. Justice, social, economic and political for all. So, this cannot be complete unless we have a framework of laws which protects all the laborers in one way or the other. In India, we have approximately directly related to the laborers 150 labor laws. Labor, as you are aware, is a concurrent subject, is a subject in the concurrent list. Central government as well as state governments make laws, and such laws which are made by both the state government and central government, we have 150. But unfortunately what has happened is, these 150 and these laws are under various categories. We have the Minimum Wages Act, we have the Payment of Wages Act, we have the Equal Remuneration Act. These are the predominant wage laws. Likewise, we have the service conditions laws. Service condition laws, like for those workers who are in the shops and commercial establishments, we have the Karnataka Shops and Commercial Establishment Act. These were the predominant social security laws. Likewise, we have some laws for regulating the industrial relation between employer and employer, relationship between the employer and the workers. We have been having the laws. What has happened is, though we have this plethora of laws, almost 150 laws, the ambit or scope of these 150 odd laws was just restricted to 7% of the workforce. To put it in other words, out of the total workforce in this country, only 7% of the workers were getting the social security or the benefit or the protection provided by this 150 odd laws. To put it in another way, 93% of the working force of this country was outside the scope of all of our labor laws. They did not have any protection which these labor laws were giving. And the reason is very simple. We call them unorganized workers. Unorganized sector, they do not have the fixed employer. Today, they may work for one employer. Tomorrow they may feel going somewhere else may be lucrative, therefore they may go somewhere else. They do not have a fixed employer. They change their employer, and this is detrimental to their interest. This is disadvantageous to them. Being under a fixed employer gives them some social security, but the very fact that they do not have a fixed employer puts them at great risk, because the employer, in cases of some need or necessity, may not help him, because the employer does not know how long this worker will stay with me. The employer is suspicious. He may take some money and go from me. If it is a fixed employer, oh, he has worked for me for at least 5 or 6 years, let me see, he is now ill, let me give him some advance, let me give him some loan. That concept may be there, that idea may be there in the mind of the employer. But unfortunately, if he goes on shifting, if a worker goes on shifting, the employer will not take such a risk. This is the first characteristic. Second is, they have no fixed timing. I am in the organized sector. A factory worker in the organized sector, he has a fixed time. In 10 o'clock he has to go to his factory, 10 o'clock he has to go to work, 5:30 there is a bell or a siren, he can go home. But the unorganized worker is not like that. The work for him is according to the convenience of the employer. Suppose there is a ship at New Mangalore Port Trust, a ship has come and I have my office there, I can go there. But people in the unorganized sector, tomorrow where I will get work, whether I will have work at all. Take the case, even if he is a self-employed worker, there is no guarantee that he will be earning. Take the case of a rickshaw driver. He may go to his rickshaw stand and park his rickshaw. He may have to sometimes wait from morning till afternoon to get his turn, because of the number of rickshaws or for various other factors. So, like the organized sector, the unorganized sector, there is no guarantee of employment. Here I mean the guarantee of earning is not there for a person who is in the organized sector. Further, the next characteristic feature of those who are in the unorganized sector is that they are totally unprepared to meet the contingencies of life, old age, accidents, illness and so on, including death. The family will not be prepared. Suppose a rickshaw driver unfortunately meets with an accident and dies. Absolutely, unless he has taken various benefits, various financial assistance right from it is those benefits. If you go through those benefits, we can find that it is from cradle to grave, from the birth of the child up to his education, up to funeral, we give various benefits to him. So the picture is not that dismal. Out of the bulk of these 93% of the unorganized workers whom I was speaking, what we were mentioning, the bulk constitute the agricultural workers, those who are either working in their own fields or those who are working in other fields. Together with that, the second category or the bulk of the unorganized workers are the construction workers. First, agricultural workers. Second, construction workers. They form the great majority of these 93%. Later on, the third category is the drivers, commercial vehicle drivers, those who are either on their own taxis or those who are working for others. So, for again, the interest of the commercial vehicle drivers the interest of the construction workers were looked after by the two legislations that I have mentioned. Together with that, we had another scheme. The government has introduced another scheme for the commercial vehicle drivers. The commercial vehicle drivers
will be seen as the rebel of theirs or unnecessarily complaining all the time. But there is need, because labor will not come and sit here. If you call a rickshaw, I mean, we should have done that. It's not, I mean, let us experiment. Call a rickshaw puller and ask him to talk, what is his life. He will educate all of us. Still we are representing him and talking on his behalf. But if he speaks here, he will tell us a lot of things, his own problems. He cannot think about tomorrow. But at the same time, it's a very good combination in the sense, officers who have experience, they are brought here and they are made to say their opinions very good. And I can tell you, this is a far better conference than many ceremonial conferences organized in many universities. So in that behalf, I really congratulate, and these students are also, in addition to studying, they all seem to be very happy also. In most of the institutions, students are not happy. Of course, you are not post laborers, I suppose you are. So, I am very happy that I think we need this debate more. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Murli. Indeed, it is my pleasure to, on my behalf, to welcome all the dignitaries and participants to this national conference on labor force in unorganized sectors, protection and challenges, especially this particular session, growing prominence of unorganized labor sector in India. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Tharanath, Principal, Sdm Law College and Chairman of this conference, and Mr. Santosh Prabhu, my former colleague, and faculty coordinator, and Ms. Chandralekha, faculty coordinator of this conference, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to moderate this session. Now, as I mentioned earlier, as a moderator, I will give my viewpoints towards the end of the session. When he was introducing me, he was just mentioning that I am a BSc statistician. So I would like to begin my talk with a bit of statistics. Any guess what is the rough estimate?
48%.
No, I am not talking in terms of percentage. I just want in numbers. Yeah, it is as rightly said. It is 30 million workers in India who are constantly what they say on the move. So we categorize them as a migrant labor, and around 25.94 million women workforce has been added in the labor market from the year 2000 onwards. Right? And another very interesting statistics which I came across when I was reading one particular article. All the more, every day, please listen to me, 13,000 Indian turn 60 years. Every day, especially in our country, 13,000 Indian turn 60 years, and they are expected to live another average of 17 years. Right? So every year, we have the aged workforce adding to to our population, and another interesting thing is that they are likely to survive for another, on an average, for another 17 years. So what are these statistics indicating? What indication it gives, right? But if you see the the reality part of it, only 10% of the Indians save for old age. This is another very interesting statistic. Only 10% of the Indians save for their old age, and the tragedy is that the existing social security legislations, which so many people are talking about, only cover 8% of the total workforce. Whatever acts we have, Broad for Act 1952, the Payment of Gratuity Act 1972, right? All those the social security measures. If you see, only 8% of the total workforce, I'm talking about our country, is covered under the social security legislations, right? And I was just scanning through the latest report of NSSO, that is nothing but National Sample Survey Organization, uploaded by the close of May 2011, about the casual workers in India between 2004 and 2005 and 2009 and 2010, compared to the period of 1999 to 2000 and 2004 to 2005, clearly indicates that there is a significant increase in the number of casual workers and decline in the number of regular workers. Right? So when you take this two period, that is 2004-5 and 2009-10, and compare it with 1999 and 2000, the number of casual workers are increasing, whereas the number of regular workers are declining, which is again a disturbing trend. Right? I'm sorry, being a statistician, I love to talk statistics. Right? And another interesting fact I have observed is that the growth of employment in informal sector is faster. The growth of employment in informal sector is faster, and I can say that if you see the current trend, what is happening. Of course, Dr. Manjunath was in his inaugural address. He was talking about informal sector within the organized sector. So within quotes, I would like to say what is happening, especially in the current scenario, informalization of formal sector. That's what happening in the present day scenario. There is informalization happening within the formal sector also. Right now, if you see the informal sector, they have to confront varieties of problems. To quote some, they have to confront the problems of low productivity, low real wages, poor working conditions and living conditions, and of course another important characteristics which he was highlighting is the seasonality of employment, right? And what not, there are so many problems which is being confronted by this informal sectors, right? And another important thing which I want to highlight, which I thought it is very, very important on my part to highlight, is that especially if you see the unorganized sector, now the skill levels are not up to the mark. That is a very, very disturbing characteristics. And the second thing is that they have a lower mobilization status, for the simple reason is they are migratory in nature. So since they have a lower mobilization status, what happens is that the collective bargaining strength also decreases. So they cannot go and fight with the government agencies or their employer to instill their rights. But one thing I would highlight, I would love to highlight is that of course Mr. Johnson was highlighting the various schemes which has been implemented by the government of Karnataka as well as the government of India. I thought I would like to take a few examples and share it how these schemes have been implemented and whether these schemes have been successfully implemented. Just take the example of the NERGA scheme, right? The main objective of implementing the NERGA scheme was to ensure that employment is there at least for 100 days. Right? The question is okay, 100 days you provide employment, what about other days? You have not thought about that. Right? And another important aspect of this particular scheme is that it focuses on